cultural exchange. Throughout Shinya Tsukamoto's distinguished career, he has embodied this spirit and then some, putting Japanese cinema back on the international film map in 1989 with the mangled scrap metal salaryman in his feature film debut, Tetsuo the Iron Man, made 30 years ago this year. Since then, he's carved out a space for himself as a singular and uncompromising film artist who is not only credited as the writer and director of his work, but also the producer, cinematographer, editor, set designer, and often the lead actor. In total, he is a true independent film artist, someone who has been developing his vision and style through the highly original and idiosyncratic films that he's been making since he was a teenager, when he first borrowed his father's 8mm camera and shot films with his brother and neighborhood friends in Shibuya. And while he could always rest on his laurels as a progenitor of Japanese cyberpunk, Tsukamoto-san has constantly evolved in new directions with every film. Killing, tonight's screening, is Tsukamoto's first samurai film, which moves him away from the dense urban landscapes of his early and mid-career and has him take on the rich tradition of this very Japanese film genre with his own unique style. Killing is not an obvious choice for a centerpiece presentation film. It is not a prestige drama. It does not have the sheen of an international art house film with good taste, per se. It is violent, it is messy, and ultimately a subversive genre film that's less than 90 minutes. One that includes copious bloodshed and difficult depictions of sexual violence and evil. But it's also an earnest work, one that seriously considers these acts of violence and perversions and explores the darker parts of the human psyche in our confrontation with war and the distorted ideas of honor. In other words, it is a Tsukamoto film, and one that feels particularly attuned to the times in which we live. To present this award, I'd like to welcome Japan Society's artistic director, who established Japan Cuts Festival of New Japanese Film in 2007, to present the Cut Above Award and welcome Shinya Tsukamoto on stage.
Thank you, Kazu. Hi, I'm Yoko Shioya. On behalf of Japan Society and Japan Cuts Festival of New Japanese Film, it is my great honor and pleasure to give the 2019 Cut Above Award for Outstanding Achievement in Film to Shinya Tsukamoto. We are giving this award in recognition of his tremendous contributions to contemporary Japanese cinema. Now, please join me welcoming Shinya Tsukamoto. He said that it looks like a whiskey bottle.
We know where he's
本当にありがとうございます。Thank you very much。映画作って今ご紹介いただいたように30年経っちゃったんですね。本当にちょうど、今30年であともう数ヶ月で60歳で赤いちゃんちゃんこをもうすぐ着るんですけど、そういう節目にこのような立派な賞をいただいて本当に光栄でございます。
So as was explained earlier, I've been making films for 30 years at this point, and I'm actually a few months away from turning 60. And so I am so grateful and honored to be receiving this award at this time.
最初に鉄道、30年前に鉄道という映画を作った時はこういうふうに海外に自分が来るなんて全く想像していなくてですね、本当に日本でもその映画が成功するかどうかも分かんないぐらい心配な感じだったんですけど、その時に海外から問い合わせが当時はファックスで来るんですね。今みたいに E メールじゃなくてファックスでこう英語が書いてあっただけでですね、なんか宇宙から来たメッセージかと思って捨ててしまった記憶がありますね。
So when I made Tetsuo about 30 years ago, I had no idea, or didn't really think that the film would travel abroad. I was actually worried that it might not be successful even in Japan. But at the time, back when people would fax and not email, I would receive messages from abroad and it was in English, and to me it felt like it was messages coming from space, outer space, and I remember being scared and throwing it away.
本当そんな感じで始まったんですけど、実際その鉄道2という映画を海外に持っていった時に皆さんが本当にこう喜んでくださって、そしてコミュニケーションがこう始まって自分の世界が急速にものすごい勢いで広がっていくのを感じました。
And so that's how it started, and I made Tetsuo 1 and Tetsuo 2, and I brought both of these films abroad, and that's how I started communicating with people abroad, and that was how the world really widened for me.
その当時はまだあんまりその大きな映画を海外に行ってたんですけど、僕のようなちっちゃい映画があんまり海外に行くっていうことが少なかったんですけど、その年は一年中いろんな国に行っていろんな人とこう出会って、その映画というのが芸術全般だと思うんですけど、本当にこう国とかを超えて人々がこうつながり合うことができるものすごくこう大事なものなんだということがはっきり分かる1年で、最初にファックスを捨てちゃった時の自分が本当に愚かしく感じる1年になりました。
So back then, some bigger films in Japan would travel abroad, but it was very rare for smaller films like mine to actually go. And so it was by meeting lots of different people from different countries, I really started to realize how important art and film in general are important in crossing borders and how important they are in society. And in that year, I really learned a lot. And I felt that thinking back on the fact that I threw away that fax message makes me feel ashamed.
ただ今そんなこういうふうに自分が感じているのと反して世界ではあるいはもう一番顕著なのは日本の国がそういうこう外国の自分の国じゃない人とつながるっていうことよりはなんかヘイトの感情をこう持ったり、あるいはヘイトの感情を相手に持ってしまうようなことをわざわざみすみすこうやっていくようななんか政治の状況にこのようなどんどん変わっていくことに大きな今恐れを感じて、その恐れをあんまり理屈じゃなく感情で叫びのように表したのが今回のこの残というか気分という映画でございます。
But contrary to that, when I look at the world at large, but especially Japan, despite sort of these connections that can be made with abroad, I start to feel that there's fostering feelings of hate that is caused by the politics that's happening in Japan right now, and I feel a big sense of fear towards this situation. And that fear is what I put into this movie. It's not coming from a logical place, but I really put my emotional fear in there.
ですからこういうやっぱり文化のとか芸術をこう特に今こちらでは日本のその芸術をニューヨークの本当にエキサイティングな街のニューヨークにご紹介してくださるジャパンソサイティのお仕事本当に大事だと思いますし、その映画も上映してくださって、そして今回のこういうジャパンカッツの映画祭の情報を通してこういうふうにコミュニケーションをさせていただいたり、そこで今回こういうふうに賞をいただいたというのはもうとっても光栄だと思います。
And so as I think about how important the culture and the arts are, and I'm very excited to be showing this Japanese film in an exciting city like New York, and I find a place like Japan Society is doing very important work in that sense, and I'm so honored to be here at this festival, Japan Cup Festival, and in order to be able to communicate with everybody, and I feel so honored to also be receiving this award.
ありがとうございます。Thank you.
So stay in your seats after the credits, and we'll have a Q&A with Tsukamoto-san after the film.